Hi, I'm Dave Sweet, and last time we got together we were over at the architect's office and we were looking at different ways of wall construction techniques, or building envelope if you want to call it, and had a lot of good information. Today we're going to meet with a local land surveyor. His name is Stuart Fairbank, right here at a local firm called Angus McDonald Gary Sharp and Associates, and he's going to give us some good information to what to look forward to and the property lines, where to put the house, location, some of those setback important issues that we got to take care of when we do it. And speaking of that, he's right on his way. Let's meet him. Hey, Stuart.
Hey, David,
how you doing?
How you doing?
Thanks for coming.
You?
Appreciate it.
You're
Hey.
welcome.
Yeah. Get you know the lot. You've seen it before, so now we can just kind of go through what's involved in the process. I think that's a lot of people out there really don't understand. You know, the difference between a piece of raw land or approved building lot, or even taking this step further. You know, what do we need to do, you know, to document it to get to the town hall for zoning, for building permits and everything else like that? Wonder if you could help us out and enlighten us. Well, Stu, can you tell us a little bit more, you know, what's involved? I know that you guys do land surveying, but what else? What else does your firm do and what's involved?
Well, it's integrated land surveying and civil engineering. On a piece of property like this, we map the property, both in terms of boundary and topographically. And then we work with the homeowner, landowner to site a house. Try and find a location and suitable locations for underground utilities, including septic systems in the well and so forth. We evaluate the lot with test holes and perk tests that everybody is familiar with. And then when you come up with a house design, which you have, we work with you and with your architect to try to site it so that it best fits the property.
So I know that you guys had staked out all the property corners and done all that. Did you ever, I don't know if we marked down any of the large trees or stone walls or other things, did we mark those on?
I think that some of the stone walls have been indicated. We didn't locate the trees because when we first got started, we really weren't sure where you were going to put the
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, instead of wasting all that time and marking
and also there's enough of these large trees. You can see some of the what I would consider specimen trees, like this one or perhaps that one back there. Nice, large, full canopied trees that provide shade, provide character, provide a buffer to the neighbors. There's enough of them in here so that even if you remove a few of them, you're going to have still going to have.
That's
some
good.
Nice,
that's
nice
what our end goal is, to minimal effect on things around us, but yet we have that open area. You know, everybody wants to have their backyard or maybe even a pool at some point, something like that. We want to be able to have some sun on there.
There's some good mature trees. This hasn't been cut over for, I'm betting 50 years or more, you know.
Is there any good hardwoods in here, do you think? Or
well, that's what these are.
Oak,
this is
I
all,
think of oak, I mean, you know, cherry, something else.
There's a bunch of oak. This is oak. There's some maple behind us. This one is, well, this one's dead. It's probably was a maple. This is an oak that's down here. So there's a lot of good good wood.
Well, then I think I should explore that and see what we could do.
Absolutely.
And if he's cutting it down and we're ready to go, then we could do that. Yeah, I see a lot of markers around here, especially these orange ones. What does that represent on that, Stu?
Well, you see there's a couple of different colors in here. There's some of these international orange, and there's some of these bright yellow ones on some trees. It's basically surveyor's flagging. We set it to identify different features. On a lot like this, it might mean different things. These, I think, are clearing limit lines. Sometimes we use them for boundary markers, sometimes test hole locations and so forth. Also, when your house is staked out, there'll be a series of stakes about 2 feet high, each of which would have flagging at the top. The flagging, of course, is for visibility. Usually there's a description attached to it. Usually it'll either be writing on the flag or there'll be a stake next to it that identifies what it is.
Okay, yeah, I saw one like a property corner that's written on that stake, and there's an iron pipe. That's known as
a witness stake. It's just usually just an oak stake about 1 inch square with some of the flagging on it. We use as much high visibility orange flagging and paint as possible so that we can find it not only today, but 5 or 10 or 15 years down the road when leaf litter has accumulated around it.
You know, aside from that, are there any other pitfalls you can think of that people run into when they go to get, you know, land surveyed or go to town hall for a building permit and they run into obstacles? You know, is there anything they should be aware of to avoid?
Well, I think where they really want to get started is at the beginning of their project start from square one. It's easy for people to become overwhelmed when they get into this process, when they want to build themselves a house.
Okay.
Many times they found a nice piece of land either through a real estate agent or just driving around, or someone offers it to them. But then they kind of think that they can simply jump from that to the last step, which is, hey, let's just start putting up the wood. And there's all these regulatory constraints. Our suggestion is look at it from the perspective of protecting your investment. Number one thing that we recommend is when you find that dream piece of land, no matter how beautiful it is and the price is right, don't close until you have a building permit in your hand.
Oh, good idea.
Because you don't ever want to take that chance, that risk, that you're going to get, there's going to be some unforeseen, either a deed restriction, a homeowners association that won't permit you to do what you want, zoning that you didn't understand, and maybe it didn't make sense to you, and you thought that they would simply let you go ahead and build. Don't take those risks. Go find a team of professionals. Usually you're going to start, of course, with real estate agents and probably a land use attorney, because you're going to be looking to spend a lot of money. And no doubt your bank is going to have a little bit of a say in this too. Beyond that, you want to start evaluating the property, and that's where we come in. We do the surveying, we produce a map of what you have, then we start to produce a plan of what you're going to have, and then that's where the regulatory process starts. Bottom line, as a buyer, don't hand over your money until you've got that permit in hand.
Yeah, I know there's some grade in here. Definitely it looks like a slope here. What are we going to do to try to get the house level and backyard and everything else like that?
Well, of course, always, under no circumstances is a house built out of level. So ultimately you're going to end up with, if your first floor is roughly at this elevation, that's going to extend out 30 or 40 feet in that direction. In here, what we do is set the house up high enough so that the grade on the uphill side of the house can be manipulated to force water out and around the sides of the house. That's one of the big pitfalls. If there's two things that people hate, it's number one, a septic system that backs up into the house, and number two, water in the basement.
Right.
Either way, it ends up as water in a basement. One's a little cleaner than the other.
We've got some good information here. Is there any little parting words or little tidbits you could think to kind of sum that up, Stuart?
Well, yeah. Just to recap, if you found that piece of property that you like, negotiate for time. Price is obviously very important, but you need time.
Right.
Try to get that time so that you can move forward. Assemble a team. Start at square one. Don't overwhelm yourself with looking forward to what's the design of the kitchen going to be before you figure out whether or not you can actually put a house on the property. So get your team together, get professionals who are going to work with you. You're going to need your architect to prepare some plans so that you can get those permits. And again, try to get that permit in hand. Get as many approvals as possible before your time runs out.
That makes a lot of sense.
And you have to close. Well, Dave, this has been great. I'm really glad we got together. It sounds like you've got your project well underway, and I think it's going to move forward from here.
Yeah, it's been real informative. I really thank you for coming out there.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
I'm glad I could help. We'll be talking to you again soon.
Get
that house underway.
All right. It was great that Stuart Fairbanks was able to make it over here and give us some great information about the types of trees and the way the land slopes and things to look forward and think about when you go to buy a piece of property and you want to go get a building permit on that. These are important topics, so there were some great takeaways. I'm Dave Sweet, building green comfort from the ground up.